Warning, the following video contains spoilers. If you don't want this episode spoiled for you, switch the video off now. To quote one of my favourite songs of all time, even an end has a start. What did you think about this week's episode of My Hero Academia, and what do you think about the season as a whole? Vote in the poll and let me know in the comment section down below. And whilst you're there, be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do, because YouTube is an increasingly scary place for small content creators. Support your local small content creator today. It does them a power of good. And I mean that most sincerely, I really do. The likes, comments and faves I've been getting over the past few videos or so has been really inspiring and truly wonderful. Speaking of wonderful, let's discuss this week's episode of My Hero Academia, and well, that was a bit of an epic conclusion in many levels, let's be honest, dear listener. This week's episode is truly, if you were to look at it in the most binary ones and zeros kind of a way, the absolute best way to end a season. It goes off in a high, in the highest, most brilliant way possible. Now that's not to say that this episode was not without some flaws, or at least things that were, for want of a better phrase, a little bit problematic for me. A few little flaws in the greater scheme, the greater tapestry of this particular episode. So we might as well discuss those first, as well as peppering in some praise, because praise is well and truly due with an episode like this. This is the final episode of a season, and whilst I was floored by the overall quality of it, I have to say that I really didn't like the fact that our protagonist and our extended cast were barely in the episode as a whole. They were pushed to the sidelines. They really were nothing more than cheerleaders for the extended runtime of this entire episode. That's all they really did, was just sit there and occasionally interject and comment about what was going on within the episode itself. They were doing their own YouTube reaction video, which is a whole vision that I don't really think I want to dwell on too much, because I think that undermines the point I'm trying to make. Look, regardless of the genre or the medium in which you're making a piece of fiction, your protagonist needs to be proactive and doing stuff, and in with this week's episode and last week's episode, they weren't really doing that. This week more so. One of the big things that I praised this entire series of, back when I did my initial impressions video and constantly throughout the run of this year's series, is how well it utilises its extended cast and its protagonists, the depth of character that they all end up having. And this week, the final episode of this season, we get none of that. Now, I understand why that is the case. This week's episode and last week's episode are the Endeavour-focused episodes. For all intents and purposes, he is the protagonist, and he is very proactive. He is actively doing stuff, and he is an interesting character to behold, even if I personally do not like him. But with that said and done, I can't help but think that if that is the mentality of going into this episode, then why bother featuring Class 1A at all? Sure, have Shoto there because his family. Cut to Endeavour's family, have theirs reactions of what's going on beyond this whole fight sequence. That stuff makes sense, but to cut to Deku and to Kirishima and Bakugo watching it, what do they really add to this episode beyond just being there to either break up the action itself, or alternatively just to remind us that they're still in the program itself? My general feeling, regardless of what kind of program it is that if you're having to actively give your characters things to do, then maybe it's about time to think about whether or not those characters are necessary at all. Of course, you can't really cut out Deku and everyone else and just drop them from the show entirely, but for this week's episode and last week's episode, were they really needed at all? If this is the thing that's supposed to recontextualize Endeavour and make us help to understand him better, do we really need Midori and the rest of them there making really weird comments? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not the biggest problem in the world, but still, one of the big things I praise this series about is how it uses extended cast, and this week, in the final episode for a good long time, we don't really get in much of them, and for me, that's a bit of a bummer. The central action sequence of this episode, hell, the entirety of the episode itself, is truly fantastic. It is brilliant. It is... I don't know if it's the best fight sequence this season, because of the fact that there has been so many brilliant fight sequences. On a pure spectacle point of view, yeah, it's easily the best. I'm not entirely sure from an emotive point of view. I think the Deku vs Gentle Criminal one edges it out just ever so slightly, because I just found Gentle Criminal and Labava to be fascinating characters in and of themselves, and my own personal biases against Endeavour stopped me committing from able to say that he's the best at anything. But even so, this is an episode for, regardless of how much I may not like Endeavour as a character, it still makes you feel, as you're watching it, you want him to succeed. You want him to get through this to the other side. You want him to win the day in the end of it, even if you personally may not like them. And of course, in the grand scheme of things, you know he's going to win in the end because he's the protagonist, he's the central character, he's not going to get offed. But even still, you're still sat there watching and asking yourselves, well, what's the cost of this fight going to be? What is the cost to his mental or physical health going to end up being? Is he going to end up like All Might, where at the end of this he's going to end up being essentially crippled and unable to be the full hero to his fullest extent anymore? Or is it going to damage him in such a way that he's not going to be able to function on a basic everyday level? Is this going to end up making the villains create a whole new species of Nomu that are even more powerful than the current #1 hero? We don't know that yet, and here and now it ends up creating for a very tense action sequence. Look, I can't honestly talk with much authority about animation itself and the hard work that goes into it, but from a choreographical point of view, from a thematic point of view, and just a sheer popcorn spectacle point of view, this is brilliant. To see this level and quality of animation in just what is effectively a weekly Saturday morning cartoon is truly spectacular, and it makes me very excited to see what kind of things we end up getting to see going forward, even if that may end up being not for a good few months at this point. As I just said, and as I said last week, I don't particularly like Endeavour as a character. I think he's brilliantly written, and for me to dislike a character quite as much as this is truly a credit to the writers and animators of this program. With that said, I was incredibly reluctant going into this whole story arc because I knew what it was going to be. This was going to be the Endeavour Redemption arc! I was worried that the writers and animators would try and almost distract us from all the bad stuff that he's done in almost Wizard of Oz, like pay no attention to the man behind the curtain bit, that all they need to do is wheel out some epic and dazzling fight sequence and we'll all be so enamoured with it, so blown away by it, we'd just forget all the bad stuff he's done in the past. However, with this episode, to the writers and animators' credit, they actually do grasp the thistle on this. They don't shy away from it. This episode, front and centre, right at the very beginning of it, ends up bringing us and showing us his family, his ex-wife, and the situation that he's in, and reflecting upon all the bad stuff he's done in the past, and what his family end up thinking about him, of all the abusive things that he has done to them. They don't shy away from it. They show it as best as they can do in the context of a Saturday morning cartoon or Saturday morning anime. I know some people are going to get a little bit perturbed by that, but we move on. It actively ends up addressing it. It contextualises it in such a way that it says as though to the audience, look, what you're about to see is going to be really shit your pants epic, but don't forget, this guy has done some truly horrible things, and we're not going to sugarcoat it, we're not going to walk away from it. He's done bad things, and even though he is a hero, he has done horrible things that we need to address and we need you to remember going forward. And even within the episode itself, beyond that point, during the big fight sequence itself, Endeavour reflects upon these things. He knows he's been a bad person. He knows he's been horrible. He knows he's been a scumbag. He's there during the fight thinking to himself, yeah, I should have been a better father. Yes, I should have been a better husband. I should have been the man that I always aspired to be, but wasn't. Because of his drive and his passion to become the #1 hero, and possibly because of the impacts of his quirk upon his personality, he stands there in that moment knowing that he needs to be a better man, that he has to try and make amends for all the horrible stuff he's done. Maybe he will do that, maybe he won't, but this moment, this particular fight sequence, means so much more to him as a character than the whole whiz-bang pop stuff that many people are going to reflect upon this episode as. There is just so much going on in terms of character development for him and the development of the world itself, and to reflect upon the impact that he himself has had upon this world and what kind of man he has to end up becoming, regardless of the sins of the past. That to look upon this episode as purely a wow, epic fight sequence, dude! Oh, look at that ending! Dego's gonna get superpowers! Oh! To look at it just like that, to just look at the flash and the epic fight sequence and all the anime bullshit stuff, really undervalues the quality of the writing therein. This is an episode, whilst it does not totally change Endeavour, in my mind, it doesn't make me like him in the end of it. I have a key understanding as him as a character, and I can see now, I understand him. I understand him in such a way that I do, in the end, as much as I may not like him as a character, I want to see him try and make amends. I want to see him grow as a human being, to try and overcome the darkness that he's had in his past, to make up for it, to try and reconcile with his family. Maybe he can do that, maybe he can't, maybe he's lost to them forever like he, to a certain degree, is with me, but you want to see him succeed. You want to see him succeed in the way that Gentle Criminal and Labava, you want to see them succeed. Maybe he will do it, maybe he won't, maybe he'll just burn out in the end of it and just be wholly irredeemable, but we don't know that yet. So to look at this as just being an epic fight sequence and, oh my god, that ending, that cliffhanger, really does a disservice to the quality of the writing and character development for him. And I really think this entire show, this episode, previous episode, and probably future episodes, has a lot more going for it in terms of character development and thematic standpoints, more than a lot of people really give it credit for. So again, just to look at this as being epic fight sequence, really just undervalues the great stuff that's going on within it. And of course, to actually discuss the cliffhanger for this episode, I'm going to be blunt with you, dear listener, I really do not like it. Ever since I heard about the whole idea of Deku unlocking new quirks and becoming more powerful that way, I don't like the idea at all. It really doesn't sit for me in any regard, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sold on the execution of this either. I'm not a fan of season-ending cliffhangers. Maybe it's because of what happened with Class. It's kind of spoilt the idea of it for me forever. And of course I saw another television program recently which did a similar kind of thing. And it didn't really last for me then. It kind of felt like, oh please, please commission us for a second season. Please, please Mr. Netflix. We can be good, we can be cool, really, yeah. When I'm not entirely sure whether or not it is going to come back or whether or not I actually want to watch a second season of it. But maybe I'll discuss that in the future. The idea of ending your season with a cliffhanger, if this wasn't such a successful television program and manga, I'd be worried that this was just going to be a great shrug your shoulders, a great epic nothing burger that we'd never find how this is going to end, but whatever. And also the fact that it's a dream sequence. As a general rule, I'm not a fan of dream sequences for reasons which are too broad to really discuss in a video like this, but to be honest with you, if you're going to end up trying to communicate something that by its nature is intangible and somewhat abstract, then to discuss it via a dream in an abstract and intangible way is probably the best way of going about it. And of course, like I said just then, I'm really not keen on the idea of Deku unlocking new quirks. Maybe unlocking latent quirks that were already within him, with like the little telekinesis stuff that his mother can do and the fire breathing stuff that apparently his father could end up doing. I'd be fine with that kind of stuff because that would already be within his DNA, but the idea that he's going to unlock, I don't know, super speed or flight or laser vision or whatever, it just doesn't sit well for me because it feels incredibly comic booky, it feels incredibly gamey, it feels incredibly Dragon Ball-y kind of in a way, not to disparage Dragon Ball, but it does make me worry that we're going to get into a situation where we get a new villain who's very, very tough and powerful, then Deku has to unlock a new power, then he defeats that villain, another villain comes along, then he has to unlock a new power, then another villain comes along, then a new power, then a new villain, then a new power, and then it just becomes incredibly formulaic. When in the past we've had heroes fighting villains and villains fighting heroes where there's been a greater gap between their raw power and yet the fights have been close. Deku versus Muscle. Muscle was far more powerful than Deku and yet Deku manages to just get the win against him. Gentle Criminal versus Deku. Gentle Criminal is far weaker than Deku but he almost gets the win against him. With this kind of stuff, I want the fights to mean a lot more thematically and in terms of what they mean for the story than just the flash and glamour of the whole sequence as an action part. As I said previously, I think there's a lot more going on with many of the fight sequences for this show than I feel a lot of people give it credit for. Fight sequences have to mean something beyond just I need to stop the bad guy because it's a bad guy, okay. And many of the fight sequences that we had in this show have almost always had something bigger going on behind the scenes of it. My worry is that if we're going to get into the Dragon Ball-esque unlock a power, fight a new villain, too powerful, get a new power, etc, etc, it's going to end up undermining that, but we'll soon see about that. I'm fairly confident the writer of the show will, at the end of the day, provide it in a way that is going to be a lot more tangible and a lot more innovative than many other similar kind of programs are doing at the moment. Alright, so we might as well wrap this whole thing up and just say I thought this episode, regardless of the problems I may have had with it, I think is epic. It is brilliant. I know the word epic gets used way too much, but yeah, this was epic. It was an astounding episode that truly floored me. It made me want to root for a character that I don't particularly like, and he had so much going on under the surface, underneath the skin of it, that it truly makes me glad to be a fan of this series, because the level of quality in the writing is truly something else. And now let's just go quickly into a comment we got from last week's video. Woo! This week's comment is from a YouTube user called Tim. Yes, Tim. Straightforward, to the point, and his comment is, awesome video, keep up the good content. Thank you, I'll be sure to do that, even though that is going to be incredibly difficult for me to do now going forward, bearing in mind that pretty much all the programs that I cover on this channel have now finished. But don't worry, I still have content of a My Hero Academia led slant going forward. Don't worry about that, because next week especially we have our review of the entire season. It's going to be a season-long review, a review of the season, hence the term season review. Let me know what you thought about this season as a whole. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section, and use the poll above to let me know whether you loved it, hated it, or are indifferent towards it. Be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell, and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do, because YouTube's an increasingly scary place for small content creators. Support your local small content creator today, it does them a power of good. As for me, not really much else for me to do right now, other than to say that yes, now that My Hero Academia is effectively finished now, content-wise, things might get a little bit dry as we go forward, but I do have plans to keep the ball rolling. Next week, like I say, we'll have our big season-long review, then we'll have the season-long review of Doctor Who, which is well overdue, and then we will be transitioning into more My Hero Academia-related things. What will those be? You'll soon have to find out for yourself. Thank you for watching, see you next time, and goodbye!